When my husband drowned in the nor'easter of 2010, they said it was an act of God. Yeah, right. That's what they always say, you know? But I knew better. It was an act of negligent Sesmaltown, HOA-fueled, committee-approved negligence. The kind where a bunch of people who never lost anything but a garden gnome vote for aesthetic cohesion over common sense. That storm didn't just rip my house apart. It hollowed me out and left nothing but my stubborn, bone-deep will to never, ever let it happen again. So when I rebuilt, I poured all my anger and love and grief right into the concrete. Every inch of my seawall along the back of the property was memory-reinforced with marine-grade steel, footings sunk deep as secrets, the angles calculated from every tide chart Charles ever made me study. I wasn't building for code, I was building for what the ocean actually does, not what some board imagines from a conference table. First, the neighbors said nothing. My house stood alone, end of the cul-de-sac, staring down the water like it had a grudge. The wall didn't block a view, it just hugged my land-me-last armor. For 7 years, nobody cared. The old board remembered that storm, remembered Charles. Some of them even asked me for my blueprints. Not that they'd admit it, but people move, people forget. The old-timers sold to developers with gold watches and big ideas, and suddenly the street was palm trees and matching trash bins and committees for everything from mailbox color to patio furniture. I didn't shift with the times. Never cared for their wine and cheese parties or block barbecues or endless talk about turning the pier into a wedding venue. After Charles died, routine became religion walks, coffee, tide gauges, and listening to the wind like it was Morse code. Out here, being quiet makes you a target. So when Karen Powell bought 3 doors down, white columns, wraparound porch, the whole catalog, I felt the air change before she ever knocked. She introduced herself like she was on the evening news. Karen Powell, newly elected HOA president, clipboard in hand, smile so tight it could crack glass. Just updating the guidelines, coastal elegance, you know. That seawall of yours looks a little industrial, don't you think? I said, looks like it won't kill someone next time. That flicker in her eyes, that was the moment I knew she'd make it her mission to rip down the only thing standing between me and the next storm. But what Karen didn't know, I had everything: permits, engineering specs, even footage from that night in 2010. My wall wasn't just permitted, it was proven. I'd learned that threats don't always come from nature. Sometimes, they knock on your door with a clipboard and call it community. So I got ready. Beneath my deck, behind fake lattice, was a weather station I'd built: misophanemometer, barometer, tide radar, and a NOAA-linked tsunami warning rig. Charles used to say, the ocean is the most polite killer in the world. It always knocks first if you're listening. Well, I never stopped listening. The tide felt off that year, pulling high too early. Not just Karen creeping up. It was the sea waking up under the surface. Then the first letter HOA logo, cheerful font, dressed up threat. Subject, violation of Covenant 47 non-standard coastal structures. Never mind that my wall predated the new code, had every permit under the sun, and no one else even bordered the water. Signed, of course, by Karen Powell. I didn't toss the letter. Paper trails matter. Next thing, Karen's marching down my street, heels stabbing the asphalt, 2 board members in tow, all power and no sense. We'll need to discuss modifications, she chirped. There won't be any, I replied. She blinked, unprepared for pushback. The board voted unanimously. You don't have jurisdiction over coastal safety structures, I said. County and Army Corps of Engineers do. Her smile vanished. That was the start. Certified letters followed: final warning, escalation, $250 fines, then $500, then $1,000. I appealed. They denied. They held a hearing with 24 hours notice. I skipped it and mailed in copies of all my permits. Remove my wall and I'll see you in court. Days later, a white SUV crept by, phone camera out the window. They were building a case. So was I. I set up trail cams, cloud backups, logged every call and visit. I knew Karen's type: give an inch, they bring a bulldozer. Sure enough, the next week, contractors showed up, no credentials, demolition gear in hand. You're trespassing, I told them. They left. That night, I got an email, no more politeness. Just, the HOA has authorized removal actions under emergency compliance. Emergency, my ass. Meanwhile, the ocean kept whispering. The tide data got weirder, pressure shifts, seismic readings from the Pacific. Something was coming. But Karen? She was obsessed with curb appeal, not survival. The third letter was delivered by a teenage HOA gopher, shaking like he was delivering a bomb. Gold foil seal. Cease and desist enforcement of violation RE 7.3. Now I was endangering the community, wave deflection, non-HOA standard engineering. They copied the county, tried to bring down outside pressure. But I'd already spoken to the Coastal Resilience Division. My permits were solid. Karen was waging war by rumor and fear. Slick flyers showed up on porches. Non-compliant structures increase flood risk. My house circled in red like a target. Greg, my neighbor, approached while I weeded. Some folks are saying the wall redirects waves. Karen showed them diagrams. I told him, that wall saved the bluff in 2016. He nodded, but he was scared, and scared people are easy to lead. Then, the fines piled up $6,000 in enforcement penalties. My name published as reckless homeowner. The final letter, remove the structure in 7 days, or we'll do it for you. I was furious, but also worried the tide data was off the charts. That night, as I watched wave height readings climb, I saw the deep-sea buoys go silent, then register a sudden tectonic jolt, not a quake, a shift. I realized this wasn't just a storm. This was tsunami territory, and the wall was about to be cut. I recorded everything, sent warnings to the HOA, 72-hour oceanic disturbance incoming. Karen wrote back, the HOA does not recognize homeowner weather models. That was it. I drove to the county, filed for a protective injunction just enough to buy time. Then the ocean went silent. Not still, but off like a skipped heartbeat. No gulls, no wind, just heat and heaviness. My private warning system lit up massive subduction movement off the trench. Tsunami window, 48 hours. I reported it to emergency services. They hedged, but I didn't wait. I activated my private siren, the one the HOA tried to ban. The sound cut through the neighborhood, but people ignored it, too busy prepping for the big HOA luau. Karen lost it, came screaming up my driveway. Turn that off, Judith. You're violating HOA noise codes. I didn't answer. That night, the ocean receded 50 yards of sand and dying fish exposed. I had hours, not days. Then came the truck, contractors, Karen in her blue linen, arms crossed like a queen. I stood between them and the wall, phone camera rolling. You're about to destroy a legal structure against the owner's consent. It's in violation of aesthetic codes, Karen spat. There's a tsunami coming. No official warning, she shot back. There's a warning from the earth. She waved her hand. The saw spun up, cutting through concrete and a decade's worth of grief. Chips flew. The breach opened, a raw wound in the wall. The tsunami alert hit impact in under 4 hours. I called the police, the county, but bureaucracy lagged behind nature. So, I hacked the HOA app, sent an emergency alert to every resident, tsunami inbound. Seek high ground. My phone blew up, the news got wind, but most people didn't act. And then the water came. The sky went dark, the harbor receded, and Karen livestreaming from her porch, mocking men ever finished her sentence. The wall of water hit, 5 stories tall. Where my wall stood intact, it held. But where they'd cut it, the surge blasted through straight into Karen's yard. Her pool shattered, her mouth opened. Then she was gone, swept away in seconds. The wave swallowed the bluff SUVs bobbing like bath toys. Porches gone. Silence after the roar. I clung to my roof, called in the damage. Karen is gone. Seeb's bluff has fallen. After the water receded, the place was wrecked, homes gutted. Lawns vanished, neighbors shell-shocked. FEMA moved in, the press circled. The breach in the wall was the funnel that focused all that water's rage. Officer Valdez found Karen 2 miles downshore. He said, If the wall hadn't been cut, the houses might have survived. No one argued. Neighbors came by, shamed and grateful. Some brought food, some just silence. Marlene Davis, Karen's old right hand, brought proof mails, vote rigging, even kickbacks to the contractor. The state opened an inquiry. The HOA board dissolved. Karen's name a national cautionary tale. For the first time, Seeb's Bluff belonged to no one but itself. Recovery was slow. They asked me to help redesign, this time for real resilience. No more clipboards, just neighbors and science. The new wall went up stronger, smarter, with a plaque that read, "Built by loss, rebuilt by truth, standing for all." There were no speeches, just a silent crowd as the tide came into his time, stopped cold. I sat on that wall sometimes, watching kids ride bikes, remembering Charles. He used to say, "You don't beat the sea, you respect it." He was right. It wasn't the ocean that destroyed us. It was arrogance. Karen and her board didn't fall because of nature. They fell because they wouldn't listen. Now, when the city forwards me thank you notes or the news calls for interviews, I just smile. Let them talk to the wall. It did the work. I wrote an op-ed for the Post about listening, about truth, about how leadership is responsibility, not control. And the world noticed. They asked me to teach. Me at 71. Savannah, the teenager with the Polaroid, said, "People need to hear it from someone who lived it." Maybe she's right. I kept my promise to Charles. The wall stands. The truth stands. And when the sea speaks, I'll be listening. Because justice isn't a headline, it's the sound of water striking stone and not getting through. And maybe, finally, that's enough. So what do you think? Did justice get served, or is this just how communities learn the hard way? Drop your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done if you were me or Karen or just another neighbor on the bluff? Would you have listened? Let's hear it.